many people see, and I don't recall in any of your experiences that I know about, and I could be wrong, that you see dead relatives, people who present themselves as when they were 30, because that's our great age, man. We're 30, right? We look good, little body fat, the hair is still brown, everything's looking good. But I don't recall that. Did you have any specific interactions with family members?
I did.
Yeah?
I did. Again, mine was a suicide, right? So very different. But in my experience of coming out of my body, being above my SUV, we'll get into all of that, how that all took place. I felt this intuitive knowing that there was something that was calling me. And I felt held and loved. And I just wasn't at all interested in that dead body. And I didn't have any desire to be back in it, but this loving presence felt more powerful, and I knew that was where I needed to be. So I won't go into my whole NDE, but I will say that once I was on the other side, however you want to term it, I had a sensation of knowing that something was drawing me. And there were no visual effects for me in my NDE entrance. I went to a dark abyss. It was the most loving dark abyss I've ever felt. I call it emptiness. Sounds like a very, very sad word. It's not. Emptiness is that the vessel has emptied itself of all of the humanness, including the ego. Yeah, but I wasn't alone. That's the thing. It was the loneliness of being in the 3D for me, right, as a victim of all of life. All of a sudden, I realized, you've never been alone. You've been so held, just let it all go. And then I just received this incredible amount of love that I had never, ever experienced. The closest thing I can connect it to was the first time I held my newborn son and looked into his eyes. And it was that type of million. And then I just felt this pulling and this sensation, and I burst and thrust into this beautiful pink. When you said the pink, I went, oh my gosh, I know that pink. And that pale pink absorbed me.
The pink you're wearing?
No, it was the babyest pink.
It was the baby pink. And I also experienced the void. You call it the abyss, I call it the void of the...
Yes,
Yeah.
but that pink, I've tried to recreate it as an artist. I've tried to make that color. It's not here.
Many people describe seeing colors that don't exist in this
Do
room.
not
That's
exist.
true, that didn't
Smells,
exist.
tastes, all of that.
And music, too.
Yeah, but that, I had the smells, I had the music, I had all of that, and I was burst into this pink. But your question is, did I see others? And this was the first time I did. And there was this sensation of something calling to me is the only way I can describe it, but everything was telepathic. It was all, you called it thought-based, but to me it wasn't even thought-based, because to me thought-based is very human, and I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
More feeling-based?
It was ethereally knowingness.
It's a knowingness.
But beyond knowing, it was experiential,
Yes.
right? So I wasn't just knowing it, I was experiencing it. But beyond that even, and I'm having these awareness moments as they're happening, I am all of this. Hold on.
It's being.
I'm not experiencing any of it. I'm all of it. And in that exact moment, I have chill bumps, sorry. That sensation of drawing me near, I don't know why I knew, but I just knew it was Archangel Gabriel. And there was this come. And as soon as that come came, and you mentioned this no body just was there. And that's when I started having experience with my uncle on the other side and so many relatives. And I had my life review, as you called it. But the final one, the real kicker, when I knew I was coming back into my body, my son was only little at this time. But his 21-year-old self, this man, started walking towards me. And there was this familiarity to this man, and I didn't know why. And as it got closer and closer, and he did appear physical to me, like you are right now, but I wasn't a body. but this presence was walking towards me, as real as you guys are to me in this room. And he said, Mom, I need you. You need to come back. That gets me every time. Sorry. And I just knew. There was no question, although just like you, there was later a realization that I did actually argue with it. I didn't know that at the time, and I did try to negotiate staying, and I found that out later. But like you, my boy needed me. And as soon as I heard his beautiful voice and I looked into his eyes, and he's like, we have things to do. And that's when I knew I was going back. And then I saw Archangel Gabriel, and again, that sensation of come, come, with no words. There were never words at any time except for my son, who was still in the physical presence. Everyone else that I had encountered was just a knowing. It was a telepathic.
You tell your story so beautifully, and I think it's really important because of everyone's mental illness and anxiety. Not everyone, but there's a large amount of it on the plane of existence right now. Did you feel any guilt for making the call to end your own life at all? Because I don't recall you saying that, because you were embraced by the light and then you were sent back, almost as if now you're the emissary for this route out is not necessary, because you articulate it better than I can, but you say, you know, there's a big reason to stay here. There's a lot of reasons to stay here.
Yeah, I mean, when I exited the body and was above my SUV watching it die and writher in the car and just move and look like it was in so much pain, I wasn't experiencing any of that. I was above it and I had no reaction to it. It was like watching a movie on the scene and having some sense of empathy about it, but no desire to go back, no regret, no guilt, no shame. It's as if when I call it soul because my business is nurture your soul, right? But I don't believe in a separate soul per se. We'll get into that. But it's as if when I was out of the body, it unzipped all of those belief systems and ideas that I had held in the body of guilt, shame, and whatnot. They couldn't be experienced in this no body. And so no, there was no thoughts ever. There were no desires to return to the body, and there was no shame or guilt whatsoever for myself or anyone else. There wasn't even a representation of, I've got to get back to my son, you see, until later when he told me. So there was this, it sounds selfish, but it's so self-loving and so self-serving that you're held in this space and everyone else is too. So there's this knowingness experientially that I'm not harming anyone in this.
And because you're aware that everybody else is in this same space,
Yes.
all your insecurities evaporate because everybody is full. Everybody is whole.
Yeah.
They're all whole
We
and
are
perfect
of.
and complete. Yes.
There are ways to experience life, that life is happening to you, through you, and then it is of you. We create this. We are this. We are all of that. It's always accessible.
So what would you say to someone who's now watching this and maybe contemplating taking their own life, and you did it and came back and had this aha moment, and you turn around, now you are nurture your soul, you are the facilitator for self-worth and love and everything, because you were there, you were in their shoes.
It's interesting. That's a dynamic question. And I will say that it's taken me 15 years to get here. So if you'd asked me this 15 years ago, the answer would be very different than today. That is part of the integration and the transition that happens over this. And I also will say that we get a huge amount of downloads from our NDE that maybe we don't remember right then. And for 15 years, I'm getting those downloads. So the answer to the question by preceding that is I don't need to say anything to them because their soul path is exactly perfect for them. And what's presenting in front of me is just to love them through that, not to try to dissuade them at all, but to love them so deeply that they lose any desire to even be in that space.
But I think you're too modest. I think by your example, by having the courage to step forward and articulate your story, people in a like or similar circumstance can then see that you did commit suicide, you came back, it wasn't what you anticipated, that you don't need to have that dramatic of an event, but you're still autonomous and you're sovereign. So if that's your choice, that's your choice. We respect your choice.
Yes. And oftentimes, someone who's in suicidal ideation, having lived that for 38 years, they just need someone to hold their hand and love them in that moment, and yet not have their ego involved in it. Like, most people, what I've found, and this is going to sound maybe a little harsh, who are helping people through suicide, they don't want to deal with it, right? They don't want to deal with mental illness or depression or anxiety. So for them, the person getting well is very self-serving in a way. Mm-hmm. I don't have that. I don't have an attachment to an outcome.
No, you don't. You know, she has a wonderful YouTube channel too. It's Nurture Your Soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you can visit, and she does some great videos and very authentic, and everyone up here is very authentic. That's why we're here. We're here to tell you this information to help you embrace life on this plane of existence based on these pioneers of consciousness who have gone there and come back and told us what theirs like. I mean, when Lewis and Clark went to the coast, nobody knew that the coast was resplendent and beautiful and had gold and them thar hills, and they could go there and they could mine it. In a big way, I think a lot of you are, and Dr. Jeff as well, in his capacity as a clinician to be open enough to allow for this to be possible. Because I think really the more people I meet, inherently, we all know that's the reality of life, is not this. Not that this is unimportant,
Right.
but it can be a lot more pleasant if we acknowledge that we're all spiritually sovereign individuals who are here at the same time to help advance each other towards whatever goal we're looking to achieve.
My favorite quote since my NDE is Ram Dass, "We're all here to walk each other home."
Yeah.
And that says it to me. And if you don't feel that reverberate in your heart, then you're not connected to it. Start there.
Yeah. And my feeling is that we should practice walking each other home on a daily basis, that we should really search out ways that we can do that.